The world is at war. Men are sent overseas, families are left behind, and every choice feels like it could decide the future. But while bombs fall in Europe and the Pacific, another kind of battle is about to begin at home, deep in the wild lands of Montana. This is not just a story of soldiers and generals, it is the story of a family, the Duttons, whose fight for survival on the ranch becomes just as brutal as the war itself. The year is 1944, and what happens in this chapter will shape everything we know about Yellowstone. The Yellowstone franchise has always been about family, power, and survival. It started with 1883, showing how the first Duttons traveled west through hardship, sickness, and death, finally finding the land that would one day become their empire. Then came 1923, a series filled with violence, ranch wars, and the shadow of the Great Depression, with the family fighting to keep their land while the world changed around them. But now the story jumps forward once again into one of the most dangerous times in history, World War II. The new series, Yellowstone 1944, picks up in an era when nothing was certain. The country was sending its sons to fight in Europe and the Pacific, while women and older men worked to keep the farms, the ranches, and the very heartbeat of America alive. For the Duttons, this war was not just fought on foreign soil, it was fought on their own land too. Every decision, every sacrifice, and every loss would echo across generations, reaching all the way to John Dutton III, the man we know today. As played by Kevin Costner, this new chapter stands out because it blends two powerful struggles into one. On one side, the war brought threats to take away the Dutton men, perhaps even Spencer Dutton himself, whose journey already carried pain and sacrifice in 1923. On the other side, the ranch faces its own war. With workers gone, enemies circling, and the government eyeing the land for its own purposes, the Dutton family is pushed to its breaking point. What makes 1944 so exciting is how it weaves history with family drama, real war mixed with the personal fight to hold on to land, legacy, and bloodline. The trailer teases this connection strongly. Shots of soldiers in uniform fade into images of horses and cattle on the Yellowstone ranch. Explosions on the battlefield are cut against the silent mountains of Montana. These edits remind the viewer that while war might be fought oceans away, its shadow stretches home. The Duttons cannot escape it, and their choices in this moment of history will shape who they are for the next 100 years. Another important detail is how 1944 fits between the other prequels and the modern show. Fans know that 1883 and 1923 explained how the Duttons came to own the land and how they defended it during times of hardship. 1944 promises to explain something even deeper: how sacrifice during war shaped the strength, loyalty, and pain that became the Dutton family's legacy. Without this chapter, the journey from Spencer to John Dutton would feel incomplete. This series aims to fill that missing piece, but what makes it even more gripping is that this is not just another war drama, unlike traditional war films that focus only on battles and soldiers. Yellowstone 1944 brings us back to the land, the ranch, and the personal ties that hold people together. It asks the question, how far will a family go to protect their home while the rest of the world is burning? This question is what makes Yellowstone's storytelling so unique. By setting this new show during World War II, the creators of Yellowstone are not only giving fans action and drama, but also grounding the story in a moment we all recognize from history. The war was real. The fear, the rationing, the letters that never came home, all of it happened. Now imagine all of that, but through the eyes of the Duttons, who already had enemies, land disputes, and personal tragedy to face. This is what 1944 promises, and this is why the trailer has already made such a strong impact. When the trailer for Yellowstone 1944 dropped, fans noticed something right away. This chapter of the saga isn't only about history and family, it's also about the actors who bring the story to life. And this time, two names stand above the rest: Brandon Sklenar and Kurt Russell. Their presence in the trailer doesn't just add excitement, it adds weight, power. and a sense that this series is aiming higher than ever before. Brandon Sklenar is no stranger to the Yellowstone universe. Audiences first met him in 1923 as Spencer Dutton, the battle-hardened son, who carried scars from his experiences in Africa and in war. His character was complex, torn between love, duty, and survival. By the time 1923 ended, Spencer's story still felt unfinished. Where did his path lead? How did his choices affect the Dutton family's future? Now 1944 seems ready to answer those questions. In the trailer, his presence is strong and haunting. His sharp eyes, his controlled silence, and the weight he carries suggest that Spencer may once again be caught between two worlds, the horrors of war and the desperate need to protect his family's land. Sklenar's return excites fans because he represents continuity. He ties 1923 to 1944, reminding viewers that every generation of Duttons is connected by blood, pain, and legacy. His character brings emotional depth to the story, and many believe this series will finally show how. Spencer's journey sets the stage for the Yellowstone we know today. In the trailer, his quiet but commanding screen time makes it clear he will be one of the central forces driving this story forward. And then there is Kurt Russell. A legend of Hollywood, Russell has built a career playing strong, rugged men. With grit and authority, from westerns to action films, he has always carried that larger-than-life presence, the kind that makes an audience lean forward when he appears on screen. His addition to Yellowstone 1944 is nothing short of monumental. Fans immediately began asking, who is he playing? Is he a Dutton, a war hero, an enemy who threatens the ranch? The trailer gives only hints. We see Russell's weathered face, marked with age and experience, his eyes filled with the kind of knowledge that only comes from loss and survival. He speaks few words, but his body language says everything. This is a man who has seen too much and who will not back down, whether he is standing as a father figure, a mentor, or a rival. His character radiates power. The mystery surrounding his role is one of the biggest talking points among fans, and it is exactly what the creators wanted. His presence alone adds tension and excitement because Kurt Russell doesn't just play a character, he becomes a symbol of strength and authority. Together, Sklenar and Russell create an incredible balance. One is younger, carrying the fire and pain of a man still fighting his battles. The other is older, steady, and commanding, representing wisdom, experience, and leadership. The trailer carefully places them in scenes that show this contrast. Russell, with his calm but unshakable gaze, Sklenar with his restless energy and burning intensity. It's almost as if the two represent different sides of the same struggle: youth and age, passion and discipline, past wounds and present burdens. What makes this pairing even more thrilling is how it connects to the themes of Yellowstone. The Dutton family has always been about passing down responsibility from one generation to the next. Fathers to sons, brothers to brothers, leaders to protectors. In 1944, the presence of both Brandon Sklenar and Kurt Russell feels symbolic of that passing of the torch. It suggests that the series will focus not just on war and survival, but on how one generation of Duttons guides or fails the next. It is also important to note how rare this kind of casting is. Kurt Russell does not take roles lightly. When he joins a project, it usually means the story has weight, depth, and power. His involvement in 1944 tells the audience that this show is more than just another prequel. It is a major piece of the Yellowstone puzzle, and one that will likely stand out as one of the most emotional and gripping chapters. Pairing him with Brandon Sklenar, who has already won fans over with his performance in 1923, ensures that this series has both the acting depth and the star power needed to keep audiences hooked. As the trailer teases, the chemistry between these two actors could define the entire season. Whether they are allies or rivals, family or strangers, their interactions will carry the kind of intensity that makes people rewatch scenes again and again. Their presence raises the stakes for the show, reminding us that Yellowstone has always been about more than just land. It has been about the people strong enough to fight for it. The trailer for Yellowstone 1944 wastes no time in setting its tone. From the very first frame, it feels different from the other Yellowstone prequels. Instead of opening with wide shots of horses or mountains, we see the chaos of war. Soldiers are running across muddy fields, explosions tearing the ground apart, and the sound of gunfire echoing through the darkness. This choice tells us one thing: this is not just a story about ranching, it is about survival in a world at war. The transition from war to Montana is powerful. After the thunder of battle, the screen cuts to the calm but haunting silence of the Dutton ranch. Snow-covered mountains rise in the distance, cattle move slowly across the fields, and a storm seems to be gathering in the sky. The editing makes it clear that the war is not just over there. Its shadow stretches all the way home, touching every life, every family, and every acre of land. One striking moment in the trailer shows Brandon Sklenar's Spencer Dutton. His face is half in shadow, his eyes hard, as though he is carrying a secret. He doesn't speak in this scene, but his silence says everything. Fans who remember him from 1923 will immediately recognize the weight he carries, the trauma that never left him. This shot suggests that Spencer may once again be pulled into conflict, torn between the duty of war and the responsibility to his family. His silence in the trailer is more dramatic than words. It makes us wonder what kind of man he has become. Kurt Russell's first appearance is another highlight. We see him standing on the ranch porch, his weathered hands resting on a cane, his eyes fixed on the horizon. His voice, low and steady, cuts through the silence with a single line: "This land has cost us everything. And still, we keep paying." It is not just a warning, it feels like a prophecy. The way the trailer places his words against scenes, a battle and bloodshed, suggests that he is a central figure, perhaps someone who understands that the war for the land is as deadly as the war overseas. Another key sequence shows the ranch under pressure. Government trucks roll up, soldiers in uniform stepping out, surveying the open fields as if they are already claimed. The message is clear: the Duttons are not safe, even on their own land. During World War II, the government often seized land for military use, and the trailer hints that Yellowstone itself might be targeted. This raises the stakes. It is no longer just about cattle and rival ranchers. It is about whether the Duttons will even be allowed to keep the land they have sacrificed so much to protect. The trailer also gives us glimpses of emotional conflict, a letter being read by lamplight, a woman holding back tears as she clutches a photograph of a soldier, and a young boy practicing with a rifle under the watchful eye of an older man. These short moments remind the audience that the war is personal. Every death, every absence, every choice will leave a scar on the family. Yellowstone has always thrived on emotion, and these small but powerful images tell us that 1944 will carry the same raw intensity. Action is another key part of the trailer. We see horseback chases through the snow, gunmen firing from behind, fences, and a barn set ablaze in the night. The flames rise high into the sky, casting long shadows over the ranch house. In between the shots of war abroad and battles at home, the trailer makes it clear that violence will once again play a major role in this chapter. The Duttons do not simply fight with words, they fight with fire, steel, and blood. But the trailer also knows how to build mystery. A shadowy figure is shown walking across a field, a desk, a rifle slung across his back, his face hidden under a hat. Who is he? A friend? An enemy? A Dutton? The trailer doesn't reveal the answer, but it leaves the audience guessing. Moments like this fuel fan theories and discussions, and that is exactly why the creators include them. The closing moments of the trailer are perhaps the most chilling. The screen fades to black, then the sound of Kurt Russell's voice returns. The war doesn't end when the fighting stops. It follows you home. As he speaks, we see quick flashes: Spencer aiming a rifle, soldiers digging trenches, cattle running in panic, and finally, the Yellowstone ranch sign splattered with blood. Then, in bold letters, the screen shows the title, Yellowstone 1944. The music swells and the trailer ends. This breakdown shows how carefully crafted the trailer is. Every scene has meaning. Every cut is designed to connect war with family, and every line of dialogue carries weight. It doesn't reveal the full story, but it gives us just enough to know that this will be one of the darkest and most emotional chapters yet. It leaves us with questions, but also with a sense of dread, knowing that the Duttons will once again be forced to fight for everything they hold dear. What makes Yellowstone 1944 so powerful is not only the action or the famous cast, it is the deeper themes that rise from the story. Every Yellowstone chapter has explored loyalty, sacrifice, and the cost of holding on to land. But in 1944, those themes feel heavier than ever before. The trailer shows us that this series is not just about a family ranch. It is about how far people will go when everything they love is under threat. The first theme is war versus home. The Duttons face two battlegrounds, at once one far away in Europe and one right in their backyard. The younger men may be called to fight for their country, but the family that remains must fight just as hard to keep the Yellowstone Ranch alive. This mirrors real history, when many American families carried the weight of both sacrifice abroad and survival at home. The trailer reminds us that even if you were not holding a rifle on the front lines, you were still part of the war. The second theme is family sacrifice. Yellowstone stories always show how each generation suffers for the next, and 1944 looks to push that idea to its limit. Will Spencer Dutton be forced to choose between serving his country and protecting his family's legacy? Will the older generation, represented by Kurt Russell's character, sacrifice their health, their peace, or even their lives to defend the land? These are the questions the trailer raises, and they promise an emotional storm when the series begins. Another strong theme is the cost of loyalty. Throughout the trailer, we see moments where characters must decide who they stand with. Do they side with the government when it demands their land for military use, or do they resist? Do they send their sons to fight in the war, or do they try to keep them home to guard the ranch? Every choice comes with a cost, and Yellowstone stories have always been brutal about showing those costs. Fans know that loyalty in this universe often leads to bloodshed, and 1944 will likely prove no different. Now, let's talk about fan speculation. Since the trailer released, viewers have been asking the same burning question: who exactly is Kurt Russell playing? Some believe he is stepping into the role of an older Dutton patriarch, perhaps guiding Spencer through the war years. Others think he could be a rival rancher or a government man, testing the Dutton family in ways they've never been tested before. The mystery of his character has become one of the most discussed topics, and it will likely stay that way until the series airs. Another popular theory is how 1944 will connect to John Dutton III, the character played by Kevin Costner in the main Yellowstone series. Fans wonder if this show will reveal his parents, his upbringing, and the sacrifices made that shaped him into the man we know today. The trailer hints at deep family ties, but it keeps the details hidden, fueling speculation and excitement. There's also the question of whether we will see Spencer Dutton's full story concluded here. In 1923, he was one of the most beloved characters, but his future was left uncertain. Will 1944 finally close the chapter on his journey, showing how he shaped the Dutton legacy? Or will the writers keep part of his fate in mystery, leaving us with even more questions for future series? The speculation goes even further. Some fans believe 1944 may introduce new characters who will later become important to the Dutton bloodline. Others think the war setting might bring outsiders into Montana, sparking conflicts that will echo for generations. Whatever the truth, the trailer makes one thing clear: this series is not just another prequel, it is a bridge that will connect everything from 1883 all the way to the present-day Yellowstone saga. And finally, the closing hook, Yellowstone 1944 is shaping up to be more than a story, it is a reckoning. The trailer promises heartbreak, fire, and blood, showing us that the war for the Yellowstone Ranch is just as deadly as any battlefield overseas. With Brandon Sklenar carrying the emotional weight of Spencer Dutton and Kurt Russell stepping in as a mysterious and powerful new figure, the series has the star power and the story depth to stand out as one of the most intense chapters in the entire franchise. The last message is clear. This is the war that shaped the Duttons forever. Without the sacrifices of 1944, the Yellowstone Ranch as we know it today would not exist. The trailer gives us just a taste of that pain and struggle, and it leaves us desperate to see the rest. So now the question is, what do you think? Who is Kurt Russell really playing? How will Spencer's story end? And how will this war tie directly to the Duttons we already know? One thing is certain, Yellowstone 1944 is not just another show. It is the beating heart of the saga, and its story will stay with us long after the credits roll.